everyone, and welcome to today's episode. We're going to be talking about All Booked Up by Melody Carlson. So, this one is a contemporary fiction novel and it fits within the Christian fiction category, and it's a standalone story. So, why did I want to read this one? Well, I've loved reading books by Melody in the past, including Just for the Summer and Second Time Around, and also Welcome to the Honey B&B. And you can find recommendations for those books at my blog, at my website at narelleatkins.com, and there'll also be a link in the show notes. And I've also recorded a couple of episodes on Melody's books. So episode 4 is on Welcome to the Honey B&B, and episode 29 is on her Christmas novel, Once Upon a Christmas Carol. And you can find those links if you go back through the playlists at your favorite podcasting app or at YouTube. So I'll add my usual disclaimer and say many thanks to the publisher for providing an advance reader copy, and all the opinions that I express in this episode are completely my own. So let's talk about the book. All Booked Up by Melody Carlson is set in Oregon in a lovely small town. And this one is a women's fiction friendship story. So we have friendships between midlife characters. We have women who are either widowed or divorced in the story, who are single. We have themes that include grief and loss that are touched on in the story. We have found family. We have some really fun bookish themes. And we also have romantic elements. And the romantic elements aren't a major front and center part of the story. So I wouldn't call this a romance at all. But these romantic elements have a twist on the love triangle trope. So don't stop listening if you don't like love triangles, because it's not what you think. It's actually a very fun twist on it. And I really enjoyed that in the story. So let's start with the first line, which is this one. Just burn them if you have to. Now, shock horror, this is a side character talking who we only actually see in the opening chapter. And they are talking about burning books. So hold that thought. I'll get back to that in a minute because it's not as sinister as it sounds, but it is a great opening line. So I'm going to introduce you to our main character, Reva. So the story is in her point of view the whole way through. So she's a 61-year-old widow and an empty nester, and she's retired. So her late husband plus her father and grandfather, they were all attorneys. And she used to work as a legal secretary for her late husband. And 18 months ago, he very sadly passed away after a 2-year battle with cancer. So she's starting the story with her children have flown the coop and are living their own lives. They're adults. She's lost her husband and she's living in this lovely old Victorian house that's been in her family since her paternal grandparents. So it goes back quite a few generations. And she's effectively been there her whole life. She grew up in the house and then she raised her children in the house. So she's very attached to it. And they have in this house an amazing library. Like it's an absolute showpiece library with the old book smell and lots of books. And so she's very attached to the house and the library and the books, but she's in a situation where this house is costing her a lot of money to keep it going. And she doesn't have the finances to live there on her own in this large house. So that brings us back to the first line with her young adult daughter, who's basically saying, Mum, you need to downsize. This house is too large for you. It's ridiculous. Just get rid of the books, burn them, do whatever you've got to do. So you can just imagine my bookish heart goes, oh my goodness. I could not imagine having that conversation and burning books. But anyway, so it really puts Reva in a situation where she needs to make a decision about what she's going to do, whether she's going to downsize and move and give away stuff or whether she's going to stay in the house. And so she makes a decision to stay in the house and to bring in some boarders and get some housemates that will help her pay the bills. So that's where we start the story. And so there are quite a few problems that come along with bringing boarders into her home. And a group of women that are aged from maybe late 40s through to 60s, there are quite a few challenges in terms of their relationships, in terms of living in quite close quarters. Even though this house is, I think 3 stories, it's a beautiful old Victorian house. So it's effectively a mansion. There's lots of space. But when you have people, you have issues. And when you have a group of women, you always have issues. And so we've got jealousy and envy as some of the things that we're dealing with in the story, plus a whole lot of really good things that come from the friendships that form in the found family in this group of boarders who become housemates. And Reva's really having to adjust to having this house that was previously just her family to bringing some strangers and friends into the house. It's a major adjustment for her to go from having peace and quiet to having a whole lot of people around. And she's also on a grief journey, having lost a husband. And so the house has a lot of memories of him. So there's a lot of stuff going on there as well. And we also have a charming and delightful brother of one of the boarders who is single and eligible. And you put a single eligible male within a group of single women, you're guaranteed to have problems in the hen house. So there's some fun stuff and some issues that come arise from having him around as well. That was quite fun to read. And we also have a very troubled housemate who's hiding a pretty big secret that comes out in the story as well that has a big impact on everyone living in the house. So I absolutely loved this book. The story was so fun. It was light-hearted and fun, as well as dealing with some pretty serious issues as well that did make me think. And we look at the importance of friendships and having healthy boundaries among friends. We also have some social justice themes that get touched on as well, and particularly helping widows and single women who are very financially vulnerable at that stage in life, where, particularly if they're in their 50s and 60s, it's so much harder to get a job than if they were younger. So, all those affordable housing issues and cost of living, all those factors come up in the story. And effectively, Reva opening her home is stopping people from possibly ending up in a situation of being homeless and not having a place to live. So, watch the decision she's made is generous, and it's also helping people to have some dignity in the way they live as well. And I just love the found family themes. It was just so fun to see that and to watch the housemates. And it wasn't all unicorns and roses. There was a whole lot of drama that happened as well. And that's just what happens when you put people together because imperfect people are going to rub each other up the wrong way at different times. But it was really lovely to see those friendships form. And the bookish themes of the library and the books and what was going on with that was really fun. And I also love the way Melody sensitively handled the whole spectrum of emotion and issues that surround grief and loss, and especially when you're looking at grief and loss with losing a spouse, which is incredibly hard and incredibly personal. And it was those parts of the story were really sensitively handled and beautifully handled. And if you're struggling with grief and loss, sometimes reading about grief and loss can be a bit too much. But this book, if you're looking to go on a journey with a group of women who are struggling with loss in different ways, then you'll definitely learn a lot from reading this book too. Because we've got issues with losing spouses, with the aftermath of divorce and broken relationships, and also the grief process is touched on in the story. So, my favorite book quote in the story is this one: I'd rather work on my humility than protect my pride. So, this is Reva who says this to one of our more troubled housemates who's really struggling with some major issues. And clinging to pride is a real problem. And Reva was very right to say what she said in the context. And when you read the book, you'll understand the context. Because if you're clinging to pride, that means that you're arrogant and you're looking down at other people and potentially being mean to other people as well in the way you treat them. And always being right and never apologizing makes you a very difficult person to live with. So these were some of the issues that got raised in a really genuine and heartfelt and sensitive way in the story. And I just really appreciated how those story elements were addressed. And you may have guessed with the bookish theme, Pride and Prejudice is a book that is read by one of our housemates in the story as well. And obviously, the Pride themes parallel very nicely with Jane Austen's classic. So this one I would describe as having relevant faith elements, as well as touching on all the issues related to pride and dealing with a prideful person and a prideful attitude. We're also looking at forgiveness themes as well, because when people get hurt, it's the individual who is the victim and who is hurt has a choice to make, and they can choose to forgive or they can choose to hold on to unforgiveness and hold grudges, and all of those types of things get explored in the story as well in a really sensitive way that I appreciated. So, in terms of the impact on me, there were lots of smiles because there were some genuinely funny rom-com type moments in this book. There were some quite interesting situations that happened. And at the same time, because we're dealing with grief and loss, there were some very poignant moments that really did make me think about a whole lot of stuff. And the situation that the group of women in the story are in, they're all in a very different situation with different challenges. And I love journeying with them in the story as they had to overcome different things in their own journey, as well as learning how to live with each other without major conflict and drama as well. So, in summary, I would recommend this book to readers who like friendship women's fiction, where you have characters that are in that midlife age group, to readers who like found family and bookish themes in their contemporary fiction, to readers who like romantic elements that are very fun and light on the page, to readers who like more serious issues explored in the story, including grief and loss, and to readers who like relevant faith elements that really do look at forgiveness themes and why forgiving other people is important. Thanks for joining me today. Does All Booked Up sound like a book that you'd like to read? Have you read it? What did you think? You can let me know. If you're listening on the podcast, you can send me a text via a link in the show notes. If you're watching at YouTube, you can like the episode at YouTube and also leave a comment at YouTube. And you can also email me at my website where I have a contact form, and you'll find that at narelleatkins.com. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe. And you can do that at your favorite podcasting app, or you can subscribe at YouTube, and then you'll get a notification on when my next episode drops. And also, if you've enjoyed this episode, please share the link with a friend, especially a friend who likes reading contemporary fiction and women's fiction, and also a friend who you think will enjoy reading Melody's books. Thanks for tuning in, and see you next time.